welcome to the BK Show podcast. This is episode number 23, and today we're going to do a little bit different type of episode. This one is very marketing focused, and I'm super excited about it, actually. I think you're going to find a ton of nuggets here. My guest today is Nick Coates. He is the co-founder and CEO of Sawtooth Media Group, where they have worked with names such as Thomas DeLauer, Drew Manning from Fit to Fat to Fit, Naomi Whittel, I hope I'm saying that correct, Natalie Hudson, Emily Lark, and Jonathan Baylor, among many other names. Nick is a wizard at marketing. When I met him at a mastermind, he just immediately struck me as somebody who's really, really smart and somebody I knew I needed to connect with. And so it was great getting to know him there. And I'm super excited he came back on the podcast to share all of these marketing nuggets. If you like this type of episode, you want to hear more marketing stuff, head over to AuthenticEcommerce.com and get on that mailing list. Some cool things are coming over there, and potentially a podcast as well that is more marketing focused and less, conversation focused, which is what I think this podcast has been so far. But I had a lot of fun doing this one. I think you're going to get a lot of nuggets out of this, and I think you're going to learn a bit about marketing as well, and hopefully get to know Nick and what he does with Sawtooth Media Group. So please welcome to the show, Nick Coates. Nick Coates, buddy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
I'm pumped to have you here. You struck me as like literally the smartest guy in the room when I met you, and I was, lucky enough to go out to dinner with you. I think we went to a vegetarian restaurant, if I remember correct, which I was doing. Yeah, I watched some Netflix documentary, and I'm like, I'm going to do this vegetarian thing for 10 days. So we ate there, but we had some good conversations, and I'm just happy to get you on the show and pick your brain. You're truly one of the smartest people in marketing that I think I've met.
Oh, thanks, man. Shockingly, we also had some good food. I was not pumped about the vegetarian selection, but I was supportive. And anyways, it ended up being really good. I was like, okay, yeah. I can do this. Yeah.
I was surprised. I think, look, I'm in Wisconsin. There's not a whole lot of options here, if I'm honest with you. And so when I went there and it was part of this little 10-day thing, I was bound determined to do it for 10 days. There was better options in California than there was in Wisconsin for sure. They actually had some pretty tasty food there.
Big time. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you literally said before the call, "Don't make me cry" or anything. So here's my one little thing. That night at dinner, we had a lot of deep discussions. And one thing you talked to me about was you being a step parent, some of your ideals behind there, some of your values behind there. And at the time, I was still dating my now wife, and kind of discovering my role in her two children's lives. And honestly, some of the things you said, it's getting me emotional. Some of the things you said really affected me and made me think differently about my role in their lives and who I need to be to help them grow to be better children. So I try not to make you cry, but that's my one thank you.
Okay. I am choked up a little bit. Thank you, man. It's near and dear to my heart, and I'm glad that my experience could help you in your experience in some way, shape, or form. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Seriously, the advice you gave me was invaluable, and it was a string of learning how to be a step parent. And so you started that, man. I appreciate it a bunch. But we'll transition to other stuff. I want to know your story, right? So I met you at a mastermind. You came in, and again, you were immediately the smartest person in the room. You challenged some of my own biases of I took this note. I don't even know if this is how you said it, but fuck your biases. The tactics work. Any of the, as marketers, we hate a lot of the things that are on websites nowadays and the different pop-ups and the different tactics, but they work. They're there for a reason, right? And so you really pushed me on that. But I don't know how you got to be where you are, right? And I'd love to hear your journey to today. And then, man, if we could just drop all Nick Coates' wisdom on this podcast, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Sure, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. So, yeah, the journey was long to get to where I'm at. I mean, I was that guy that was into sales when I was a kid, door-to-door sales. I was always a little hustler. I remember selling my dad bought me illegal fireworks south of the border, and I brought him to school and broke them up into little singles and sold bottle rockets by the single, to make money, and almost landed me an expulsion from school. Fortunately, my dad went to bat for me and kept me in school. But I've always been just that guy that was interested in figuring out how to make money, how to leverage my time to make money. And I think what I've always been good at is finding what's the easiest lever I can pull that has the most amount of impact or return, and my whole life I was kind of naturally good at that. So that led me obviously into a career in sales, ended up becoming a sales leader at some technology companies. I was VP of sales, director of sales, those types of roles. landed me in a business called ClickBank. Fast forward a lot of years. In 2014, I started a role at ClickBank, which is, for those that don't know, it's a platform, affiliate network, and basically a merchant processing platform for performance marketers. And I went to work for them, and I grew that company quite substantially. I put about $100 million in new business on the books in about 18 months for that business, and they had never really seen that growth prior to me being there. And again, I just identified like what was the easiest thing I could do to make the most amount of impact in their business. And for me, in that instance where it's enterprise sales, it was, well, if you can close the behemoth, the industry leader, the person that everybody else looks up to, everybody else will follow, right? So for me, the 80-20 was I spent all my time trying to close that one key account. And when I did, sure enough, every other single account just was a gimme. My phone was ringing off the hook, and I didn't have to prospect anymore.
So your goal was to just bring in somebody with the biggest offer, somebody that would attract.
Not the biggest offer, was just the thought. It was Perry Belcher. I mean, he doesn't mind me telling this story. He and I are good friends now. So it was Perry Belcher. He's really looked at as a trendsetter in the industry and has a big loyal following of people that kind of do whatever he does. And Ryan Dice and Roland Frazier in that same bucket in their collaborative together. So I closed Native Commerce at the time on bringing all their products into ClickBank. And once I did that, it was just like game over. Everybody just started wanting to come on board too. So that was some of my success at ClickBank. And then, but instantly when I saw this space of performance marketing, digital marketing, I remember I downloaded my first ebook. It was on how to make ethanol fuel in your backyard. It was when I started working at ClickBank. And I was like, I mean, what made me download it was this guy had done like $7 million in sales in like 6 months. And I was like, what is this? And so I downloaded it, bought it, and it was this 12-page PDF that my daughter, who's 13, could have made a better PDF than this. And it was like my first realization that the brilliance was in the marketing, not the product, and it really started to give me this. I just had this fire in my belly to learn everything I could then about like, how were these guys selling, such an inferior product at such a large scale successfully. And I said to myself, when I started learning, if I could do, half as good as these guys do on marketing, but pair it with a brand and a product that really delivered, I think you'd have something really special. And these, what I call like guerrilla digital marketers on ClickBank, who are some of the best marketers in the world, their tactics and strategies that they use to scale these offers to huge numbers really fast can be applied to normal everyday brands. And it's really special when you pair world-class marketing with a world-class product or service. That's really when the magic happens. Inversely, if you were to pair world-class marketing with a poor product, it just makes that business fail faster, basically, right? Because that's where you get into chargeback issues and refunded, and then you don't really have a business on your hands. So, when I kind of put all that together in 2014, I was like, man, this is it for me. I'm going to figure this space out. And met a gentleman by the name of Thomas DeLauer at a mastermind. He's a great health and fitness influencer in the keto space. And he was kind of, he was early in his journey. He hadn't had any breakthroughs or big moments. He didn't have a big following or anything like that. And I said, well, I'd love to build an offer with you and partner with you on it. I'll do all the marketing and I'll build all the sales funnels and you be the face and provide an awesome product and customer experience after they purchase. And I think together we could do something special. And we built a 8-figure business from scratch with that. And then we did it again with another influencer by the name of Drew Manning. And then again with another, and it was another after another after another of building these influencer-centric businesses, information product focused from scratch really fast. And then that evolved into supplements, right? And then into other physical products that have nothing to do and other types of coaching products. And so now, fast forward today, we have an agency that serves a lot of different verticals and niches. We have about 30 employees in the US. We're not the biggest agency out there, but I'm really proud that everybody that we have on staff are A's. We hire A's, we deliver A-level service. We care about, the brands, we care about profitability. We understand the importance of it because I myself have been a scaler of brands that I own fractional ownership in multiple times. So I understand the importance of having an agency that really cares about, your money as much as you care about your money.
Look, in thinking about the listener I have to this, I know they have a million questions right now, right? So even just 2 years ago, all I knew was like, I came from the high ticket dropshipping world. I moved into like Amazon FBA and this whole offer world, like get an offer. And like, I didn't even know what ClickBank was or like CPA marketing. I had no idea what any of that stuff was just a few years ago. And so I know there's a lot of people listening who are probably questioning that same thing. And so number one, like, can you walk through how ClickBank works, right? Like there's a lot of funny offers on there. So I'd love to know how it works. And then, what are the top 3, like just silly offers you've seen explode on there?
Gotcha. Yeah. So ClickBank is more of an info product centric platform. Although they do accept physical products now, they were born in the information product space. And early on in '99, they were one of the first ones that came out with this tech to be able to do affiliate payouts. So basically, they're an affiliate platform. So if you own an offer, a digital product, an ebook that you want to sell, you can take it to ClickBank and you can say, I want to put this on your marketplace. So imagine like, technically they're an online retailer. So they're like classified like Amazon is classified. So it's a marketplace where you can go and shop for products, but they're all information products, right? And then behind the scenes, there's a huge affiliate marketplace. So not only the consumer could potentially shop for products on there, but affiliates can shop for offers that they want to promote. So you as an offer owner, if you don't know how to drive traffic, in theory, you can put your offer on ClickBank, and there are affiliates there that will run traffic to your offer for you. ClickBank merchants the transaction, so they basically bank the whole thing. It all happens in their bank accounts, right? And you have an account on ClickBank, and ClickBank automatically makes the payments to the affiliate and to you based on whatever percentage of the sale you're giving the affiliate. So if you want to give the affiliate, most of the time it's over 75% in the digital product world. It's closer to 50% in the physical product world. You give them that percentage of sales for going to make the sale, and they take all the risks. The affiliate's spending their money to try to drive sales to your product or service. And if they can create a margin or a spread between what you're paying them and what they're paying for the traffic costs, then that's how they make their money. And you as the product owner get sort of this almost hands-off, way to sell your products online at scale. So it's a really great value proposition that ClickBank has. There's a lot of little, nuances to that. It's not just as easy as slap your product on there and sell it, but that's in a real quick overview. That's exactly what ClickBank is.
I can see the benefit for the brand, right? I can't see myself being the performance marketer that's like, all right, I see this offer, I can make $20. If I can get the cost per acquisition at $12, I'm going to make $8 arbitrage on this. That sounds honestly like I would have to wake up every day and be stressed out, I think. But on the other end of the brand, like if you're acquiring me on the front end, so I'm just looking at like my pets brand back here. If you could acquire me a customer and I paid $0, I'd give you a full commission on the first one. I'm going to make so much money on the back end that makes a ton of sense.
And that's the theory. What you said right there, Ben, is really important for those listeners out there to understand that a lot of them are like, well, how do I make money then? Like if I'm giving all the affiliate all my money, how am I making money? And it's all about customer acquisition at break even. And so many businesses that aren't mature in the digital space specifically don't understand that concept and how to monetize an email list. I mean, if you can guarantee yourself a break-even customer that you then own and control and then can remarket to over and over and over again for free, that's a pretty amazing outcome. But a lot of business owners are really stuck on these like ROAS figure. They're like, oh, I need to have an 8x ROAS. Okay, well, you're just really choking down your business's growth because of your profit requirements on the front end. It also really means you haven't built a real business, because if you can't resell to your customers on the back end over and over and over again, you really don't have a business built. You just have customer acquisition solved for, right?
So is there something like this for physical products? Because now you got my brain spinning of like, how can I get out there and have a bunch of performance marketers find me that the initial buy, right? Like I certainly can get out and do my own marketing, but to scale that sounds very interesting. Where I have a repeat purchase rate of like 50% on these products. That's incredible, right? Like the products work, and so I'm genuinely curious if there's a physical product side, something like ClickBank.
There are. Well, I mean, ClickBank themselves offer physical products, and so that's an option to you. They actually know, which we can talk about it after this podcast. One of the biggest pet list owners in that space, that's like a performance marketer / pet list owner. So they'd be a great affiliate for your offer specifically. But there are multiple platforms. ClickBank, there's a lot of so ClickBank is a cost per sale platform, meaning they'll pay the affiliates a percentage of the sale up to 100%. There's other networks that are CPA networks where you can just say, I'll pay $50 for a buyer of this product. The product could be $30, right? But you might know your numbers well enough to where you're willing to go negative on the back end. It's just two different affiliate business models and two different types of affiliates. But pet products are great to sell direct to consumer, as you know, Facebook and other types of traffic sources. And especially if somebody has a list that's pet focused, I mean, they can crush it on your offer. It's a great list for you, great list, great offer for them. And that's really what I think where the big win-wins would be for you on that pet offer.
So how did you make the transition to, bringing in somebody like Perry Belcher to ClickBank as, essentially you're the head of sales, right? You're trying to bring in more people onto the platform. And then you're like, look, I got to figure out this marketing. That's not an overnight thing, right? To go from not knowing anything to where you are today is impressive. Where does that even start? You mentioned masterminds meeting Thomas DeLauer. I would assume, maybe Perry Belcher played a role in this. I'm genuinely curious. Where did you learn your marketing chops?
Perry's a friend and helped mentor me early on. Was really interested and took an interest in me, early on in terms of like helping develop some of my skill sets. And we're wired a lot the same way in our talents. Like I'm a pretty good copywriter, really good at customer journey. That kind of goes usually hand in hand with sales. I think this could be really helpful for your listeners. An aha that I had that really helped me break through on the copywriting side of things and building offers that really convert well was realizing that the dance that I was good at physically in sales in person, where I was reading body language and voice inflection and adjusting my response and pitch based on the feedback I was getting live, right? Salespeople are kind of gunslingers that way. We're kind of winging it as we're going and we're dealing with whatever's thrown at us, right? Whereas with digital sales, you have to anticipate what that customer is going to be thinking, feeling, objecting to as you're pitching them. I say that with quote fingers, pitching them what you're doing on your sales page. So you need to be thinking about, how do I use this digital real estate to objection handle to get my customers into a buying decision? And when you make the switch, that's all it is. It's just, you have to take what you're good at in the real world, how you would pitch somebody there, and turn that into a digital process and then refine it. It makes you much better at creating offers that convert.
So are you just, copywriting to me, and I'm certainly at a lower level than you, but copywriting to me is like exacerbating the problem, just over and over, like repeating the problem and how it affects them in every area of life. Walk me through the next step from there, right? So I understand the story brand thing of like, hit the problem.
Yep. Yeah. So
how are you transitioning them into the sale when you say,
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of things that e-com sellers will do, I think, incorrectly when they're driving cold traffic, if we're talking about our listeners and what probably helps them benefit the most. Oftentimes they have, let's say you're driving somebody to a traditional e-com page where the product and price listing is above the fold, right? So it's above the fold on page copy. Right away, you've had zero chance to sell your customer on why your product is worth whatever the price is that they're looking at, right? So you're going to get people that will price object and bounce off that page right when it loads because they're like, nope, it's not worth it, even though it's probably worth it, but you haven't had a chance to convince them that it's worth it. So I believe when it comes to e-com and how we scale brands from 6 figures to 7 figures a month over and over again, the best way to do it is you have 2 separate customer journeys. One is for your cold traffic acquisition, meaning like customers that have never seen your brand before. They're going from an ad to a singularly focused sales page, right? I don't want them to go to an open e-commerce website where they're shopping all around and have all sorts of choices. They're going to get distracted. They're going to have price objections. They're going to see something you're doing and go Google it, and then they're off on your competitor's website. It's leaky. I call that a leaky funnel. I want to send them to a singularly focused sales page that has a chance to really talk about, state the problem, agitate the problem, introduce the solution, talk about why they should listen to you, have FAQs, right? Like I want testimonials, reviews. I want all of these things present besides the FAQs that I mentioned before they ever see the price of the product that I'm selling first. So for those of you listening, have you ever seen like a Organifi style sales page or, where it's longer form copy, and then at the bottom, they're introducing the solution. And I do it the same way. We'll do like a 1-3-6 bottle option. You incentivize them to take the 6 over the 3 because it's the best deal. There's like all sorts of things we could talk about tactic wise that help accomplish all of that. But that really drives up your day one average order value and your conversion rate. By structuring your page that way, you're doing two things. You get a better conversion rate because now you have a chance to sell the person on why they should pay that much for the thing that you're selling. And then secondarily, you get a better average order value because you've structured it in a way to where you're incentivizing them to take the bigger bottle count or the bigger bundle or whatever it is that you're selling. It doesn't have to be supplements. And then after the purchase, you're sending them through an upsell flow, depending on where your what your customer journey is like and what sort of experience you want your customer to have. That can be anywhere from 1. Man, I've seen people use as many as 5 or 6. I think that's super aggressive, but you can send them through a series of upsells and really optimize your day one average order value. And that is what really gives you your media buying partner, or if it's in-house in your case, or anybody's case, it gives you more money to go then buy customers with, to go acquire customers, and going back to the original discussion, at break even or better. So the more money you can get on that funnel, the more you can scale top line, the more customers you can acquire every day at break even or better, and the bigger you're building your business faster.
So I've never heard somebody talk about separating your traffic there. That's actually interesting that I kind of want to dive into, right? So you're saying cold traffic, send them to this sales page thing. And then when you're retargeting those people that don't buy on that page, are you sending them back to a traditional Shopify product page from there, as well as like your warm traffic is all going to that traditional?
Two different things. One, we'll do a discount funnel that is still a singular sales page, and we'll retarget back to that to incentivize the purchase to the add to cart people that didn't buy. So we're going to now give them even more reason to buy and put some scarcity behind it. That may be a singularly focused sales funnel, a standalone by itself. And if that doesn't work, we will also then try to retarget them back to the site. But really your site is for, in my opinion, the remonetization of your existing audience. It's that back end, right? So on the back end, you're sending those buyers that you acquired on cold back to your store to shop more. And then you're doing the more traditional e-commerce promotional strategy via email to drive them to that open environment. Then they can shop around. They can add these things to their cart because they already trust you. They've already bought from you. Now they're just going to buy more from you.
Look, I love you because we could talk tactics all day. You're so fucking smart. But I do want to understand how you got here, right? Like you obviously knew Perry Belcher from bringing him into ClickBank, but how did you begin learning? Did you start taking courses? Did you immediately join a mastermind? Where did you start investing in yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. So so number one, I was blessed in that I was part of those masterminds for free as a ClickBank employee. ClickBank paid for me to be in those masterminds. So I got to be around some of the best marketers in the world, and I got paid to do it. So that's, that was an intangible benefit in the beginning. I didn't even think about that as a benefit to that job when I started it. That ended up being one of the biggest benefits in that job that I had.
So what mastermind specifically? Like War Room or what?
I went to all War Room, Boardroom, Black Label. It doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. With Tanner Larson, Ryan Moran's Back Room. Bunch of different masterminds that I was in. And I would start speaking. They would ask me to speak on ClickBank related, like, building sales funnels in the same way that kind of now it's got your wheels turning on, like, well, maybe I should put a funnel on ClickBank. I would give that sort of a talk in masterminds, and I would drive business back to ClickBank that way. But what would happen afterwards is, I'd be sitting around drinking with these guys, usually at the bar. And that's where the real, relationship development occurred with them. We'd become friends. And then, I'd share with them, hey, someday I want to be like you, basically, was the talk, right? Like, someday I would love to be in your position. What advice would you have for me? Just, and all of them were like, dude, whenever you make the jump, like, I'll support you 110%. Like, whatever you need, I'll be there for you. So I had all these people, and I would really work hard to provide a ton of value to them in ClickBank. I would, be an advocate for them on the platform to have the most amount of success that they could have. And I was kind of building up all of this equity in those relationships. And then I made enough deposits that eventually, when I was ready to leap, I started making some withdrawals and asking for some favors, right? But the first step of that leap for me, strangely enough, was selling wrinkle cream as a CPA affiliate, because ClickBank had this rule that you could not be an affiliate on their platform if you worked for them. So I couldn't do that. So I was like, well, I'll be an affiliate for another platform. So I went to a CPA network and I grabbed a wrinkle cream offer, and I was like, I'm just going to start driving, ads at this. So I signed up for Taboola and Rev Content, and I consumed some stuff on a couple blogs. And then I tapped the network of guys that I knew that ran on there. And I called a couple of them and said, hey, how does this work? I looked at what they were doing, and I just basically did exactly what they were doing. And it failed at first. I lost about $6,000 my first 30 days doing it, which was about all the budget I had set aside to lose on the initiative. And right as I was about to give up, the guy that I was like helping me, quote unquote, he was telling me, like, just use all of my stuff, like, just copy it, use it, like, that way you can learn what's going on, what's happening. And I was like, okay, great. He calls me up and he's like, hey, Nick, you have to change this stuff. My business partner got twisted that you're using the same exact copy that I'm using. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I go and I write new copy for everything. And again, I'm about at my rope's end here on the spend, but I'm like, well, I'm gonna give it the old last college try, So I rewrote this whole new angle and hook on, it was called Divorced for Being Too Old. See Her Revenge Makeover Now. That was the headline that I rewrote. And I put this picture of this really old, wrinkly woman that I got off of Shutterstock as the image. It was real. And then I, with a photo editor, warmed up the image to where it was like really reddish looking. It was like this really shocking looking image. But my thought process was like, I need to stop these people from scrolling to look at my thing. And then I need a headline that's going to hit them hard and capture their interest and get them to click. And I did that. And I almost overnight became one of the biggest affiliates on that offer. I went from losing $6,000 to making about $6,000 a day profit after ad spend by just changing that one headline. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, man, this business, like, copy is everything, basically. I mean, it's not everything, but in the beginning, until you have a hook that clicks hard, you can't build a business off of the back end of that,
Which this just pounds home the fuck your biases, the tactics work thing. Cause I see that, right? It's on the bottom of every ESPN article I read. It's on the bottom of all kinds of things I read that are totally like things I want to read. And on the bottom is their, look at this lady's makeover after her husband divorced her in her 60s or some shit, right? Like, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm not, or like, people in Baldwin, Wisconsin need to learn this about before they get their DWI or something, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not reading this, but you're proof positive of like this shit works. And I have too much. I'm a marketer. I see the marketing and I steer away from that stuff. And I don't know. You push me to think outside the box, and I appreciate that so much.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's just, it's for me, what I love about it is that you just have to have the courage to test, right? Like, it's not even, I mean, again, the fuck your biases comment that you made, right? Like, it doesn't matter what the market wants. The market, will vote with their wallet. It doesn't matter what you think about it. And so a lot of what I do as an agency owner, I end up, really coaching my clients to like throw out some of their self-limiting beliefs and have the courage to just test. Like, look, just test it. Let the market tell you whether or not they think that's right. I don't know if it's right. You don't know if it's right, but the market will tell us if we just test it. So I think the other thing that I would encourage people to do that are running ads out there, because probably a lot of your listeners are running ads, is to products. Test your hooks and angles in your ads, even if they're like, incongruent with your sales page at first. It doesn't even matter. And then base the win on those metrics off of the click-through rate on the copy that you're testing. So let's say you want to go after a new problem that you're solving, which is like, I don't know, in your case, hip dysplasia, right? Like you might have a product that helps dogs with that problem. You could write an angle around hip dysplasia, throw it in an ad, and see if that's a big enough problem that people are clicking on a solution for. And if it works, then change your sales page copy to include languaging around the hip dysplasia problem that you're solving for. So then you'll take what was just really a great click-through rate, maybe on the ad, and not a great conversion rate onto the page, to both of those things being great, because now there's congruency in the messaging.
I think people have, back to my own, I think people have their own biases too, right? So when I'm doing consulting, mostly with high ticket drop shippers, they tend to put free shipping, no tax, like all the money biases they have of like, this is expensive and I just need to sell people on that. But there's so much more that goes into marketing. And so, really learning their avatar, which is something I think you've honed in well. And I'd love to like touch on with you. How are you discovering the avatar when you come work with a business, right? So our friend Bree, our mutual friend Bree, I believe you're working with her. She sent me over what she had prior to going to you, and sounded like you guys were appreciative of what she had built up. But almost every business I go to, they have no idea who they're selling to. And so I'd love to hear like your process of how are you discovering who are you selling to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, we've turned it into a whole onboarding process, but to just distill it all down, the biggies that you need to know is obviously who your customer avatar is really well and define it. I think so many business owners are afraid to really define a segment of their audience. It doesn't mean that you couldn't sell to all of, let's say, for example, your target avatar, Ben, in your case, could be women ages 18 to 65. Like you have a super wide range because you're selling pet products, right? And so, but you need to go after one segment of that audience at a time. From it, like if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody, basically, or nothing to everybody. That's the way you should say it. So, really targeting, okay, this is what my women 30 to 40 customer journey looks like, and having the ability to like segment that out and change the way, because the way you're going to speak and even the app platform you'll advertise on for a woman in her 30s is significantly different than a woman that's 18, for example, right? So we've got to create a customer journey that's meaningful to that perfect customer avatar. And so what I always try to say to everybody is like, let's really hone in on kind of the 80-20 rule, or where we think we can have the lowest hanging fruit success first. What's the sweet spot? Really challenge them to come up with that sweet spot. And how we do it, if they're already an existing business, is by analyzing their data. I mean, that's the simple way to do it. We just, whether they think that, I don't care who they think their customer is, we'll pull the data, and Google and or Facebook audience metrics or whatever will tell us exactly who their most common buyer is. And then we'll architect a customer journey that's better for that specific person. This just happened today. I was on a sales call with a client that, not sales call, an update call. They're a client of ours already. And we were talking through their funnel performance, and we realized like their sales page it's a weight loss product, and it's written to men and women, but it's based on hormones, right? Well, when I think hormones, I don't think men, I think women. And I think most men don't really resonate with a hormone reset type of a product. I feel like that's more of a female product, right? This particular customer was very adamant that it's for both. And I agree. It is I said, you're right. It can definitely help both people. But the people that are voting with their wallet in droves are the women. So all of the real estate we're taking up on that page, trying to resonate with and convince men why we're doing that, is not time well spent, and is probably losing us more female buyers that don't want to read all that stuff, right? So we made some changes. We were going over those changes today, and they were dramatic. We broke them loose from 1,000 a day in spend to 7,000 a day in spend, just by changing their languaging on their page to be female centric and segmenting out their traffic, male versus female. So we weren't like wasting ad spend on a male audience that wasn't converting well.
Mm. And they have different needs, right? So I started learning about this from a company called Empire Flippers, which is who I sold my first business with. They name theirs, and I actually thought that was cool. So we started doing that at every company I'm with. They have like Lifestyle Larry and Portfolio Paul, and so if you're trying to market a business to sell to Lifestyle Larry, you're not going to say the same things you're going to say to the guy who has a portfolio. But I think the tactical in there is hard to understand sometimes. And so how do you actually dig in there? Aside from a survey, which is great, but how do you actually dig in there and understand the different, like, so you just split men and women, which is great. That's an easy win. How do you go in there and find the different, how do you find the girl in her 30s who has PCOS and is struggling with hormones versus the lady in her 50s who's postmenopausal and her hormones are off? Like, how are you deciphering those? Or are you just making assumptions and then writing ads to the different avatars?
Well, again, in this case, I have the audience data, so that was easy because it's telling me the brackets of purchasers in each respective category. So I know what that is. So, and then what I do is create, like at first, it's a little broader to find what's, imagine a dartboard that we're throwing darts at in the beginning, and we're kind of just like trying to get closer to bullseye each time. And once we realize that our bullseye, our best audience is, postmenopausal women, for example, if that was the case, then we will focus that as a separate sales journey. We won't abandon what we're currently doing. It will just be okay, this is enough traffic to justify us actually building another customer journey, different ads, different lander, etc., to drive sales and speak right to the heart of that person. If your customer is reading your sales page and they're shaking their head yes down it, and they're thinking like, this person is in my mind, right? And we've all done it, right? We've all been on sales pages where we're like, my God, this is me. Like this guy's talking to me right now, or this woman's talking to me right now. Like that's exactly me. And you're kind of shaking your head yes as you go down the page. Like that usually results in you making a buying decision. So the better we can get at getting inside of our customer's head and knowing what they're thinking and feeling, what their deepest fears, their biggest desires, what keeps them up at night, what motivates them. Like you want to know we do name them. We have a customer, by the way, if again, tactically, if you just Google customer avatar worksheet, there's a million free ones that you can pull up. There's a lot of free advice out there on the internet on that. And so just fill out a customer avatar worksheet. And if you have a couple different segments, like you're talking about Lifestyle Larry and whatever else, Polly, have a couple worksheets and then start thinking about your customer journey in the eyes of each respective person. And really quickly, you'll figure out, like you just said, Ben, I can't speak to everybody the same way. So what does that mean? You have to have different customer journeys for each really important segment of your audience.
Yeah, it takes some work. I can't speak too much of the business I just exited, but we nailed it down to 4 different types of men who buy from us. And it just got super easy to write different ads, to write different landing pages, to again, customer journey, right? If I try to write a journey or just where I assume everyone's going to go, it's not going to work. If I write one just for one of those avatars, it makes the sales process easier. It makes follow-up sales easier. It makes something, I like to love your customer afterwards. It really makes it easy to love that customer afterwards and give them exactly what they want, and really serve that person. All right. I want to jump back real quick. You just jumped over Thomas DeLauer. Thomas DeLauer is huge, right? Like, I can't flip on YouTube without being recommended that. I don't know if YouTube thinks I'm a keto guy or what, but certainly after seeing it enough, I watched his How to Shop Keto at Costco, How to Shop Keto at Aldi. Like, the guy is a huge influencer, and so you kind of just, happened to mention Drew Manning from Fit to Fat to Fit, who had a pretty big TV show, if I remember right. I think that was honestly a pretty cool TV show. But like, where were you when you met these guys, and how did you convince them to say, "Hey, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm gonna create an offer for you"?
It was kind of similar. So I didn't pretend to be something I wasn't. They knew I worked at ClickBank at what Drew came after ClickBank, but Thomas I met while I was at ClickBank. And ClickBank had a rule also as an employee where I could be a product owner, but I could not be an affiliate. So then very quickly, once I figured out how to drive traffic, I was like, okay, I want to get on the other side of this game. I want to own the offer. I want to have a bunch of other affiliates, selling my products for me. I don't want to be doing this trench work every day and trying to buy traffic. So I knew right away I wanted to build an offer. I wanted to build a weight loss offer specifically because I saw they had the most amount of scale on ClickBank. And I was like, well, I can't be the face of it. At the time, I was over 300 pounds. I was definitely not the face of a weight loss product. And so I was looking for somebody to be the face of it. And I'd met Thomas at a mastermind, and we just kind of hit it off. And I said, hey, man, I think I can crack this code. I said, this is what I have done. This is what I haven't done. I was just very honest with them. And I said, I'd love to have you be the face of this product. And, if it all works out, we can just kind of split it 50-50, if that makes sense. And he's like, yeah, sure. Cause for him, it was all upside. There was no downside, right? I was saying, I'll do all the work. I'll build the funnels. I'll run the traffic. I'll do it all, everything. I'll take all the risk. And if it works, we split it 50-50. And if it doesn't work, I take it in the shorts. And he's like, okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. But you're taking on his brand too, right? Like he's got to put a lot of trust in you that you're going to represent him the right way.
Of course. Yeah. So he had final veto power on anything that I did. He had full control over marketing, languaging, and messaging and everything else. And we had a very deeply respectful relationship for one another, still do to this day. We just started at it. And at first it wasn't really exciting. It was like spend $1, make 80 cents kind of numbers right out of the gate. And pretty soon it was spend $1, make $1.10. And then pretty soon it was spend $1, make $2. And then it's like, okay, now it's time to scale this sucker. And before you know it, we had a big multi-million-dollar brand on our hands. Thomas is world-class at content and content production. And so he was a dream partner to have. And then obviously world-class product producer. He was great at helping people on their journey with keto. And so we just leaned in and we hit keto right. There's an element of luck in there too. I hit keto right when keto was starting to become a thing. And then after I left ClickBank, when that offer started to really take off and it replaced my corporate income, I decided to go ahead and pull the plug and leave. And then we started building that and built more offers with other influencers, and the rest is history.
So do you mind like explaining what that offer is? Like, what did you build with Thomas as far as an offer? And then, we talked a lot about how it's all about acquiring them on the front end so you can make money on the back end. So it's great that you were probably profitable on the front end and you and Thomas split that on this product. I hope you explain. And then what does that look like on the back end? For anybody that's like, I know an influencer out there that could use a product, right? They're all over the place. I think I brought up a ton of PCOS women to you when I saw you in person. I was like, this, my wife struggles with this, and I saw the opportunity there. But talk me through, all right, what was the product? And then like, how do you monetize the back end, and what does that split look like on that side?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've done it a lot of ways. It's really usually pretty easy to sell an influencer on the way that I just mentioned, because again, you're taking on all the risk. It's all upside if it works out. It's really no downside for them other than their time. So it's not usually hard to close an influencer on that value proposition. Over time, however, that's, once you've had some success under your belt and you're confident you're the type of marketer that can do it, then you can sort of demand different terms, if you will, on those engagements. But my, the deals that I did for years with our influencers were basically 50-50 profit, 50-50 on the back end as well, front end and back end, 50-50 profit in the business all together. And we were running the business together, merchanting, all the things that are required to do that business, we co-owned together in the form of an LLC, with IP associated and all that. So that's one way to skin the cat. Another way that I really like is the same setup where it's the no risk, but it's a royalty model. I moved to that over the years of trying a bunch of different ways, but paying the influencer a royalty per sale really keeps your incentives aligned long term. so that they're always wanting you to sell more products, and because you're always wanting to sell more, get new customers in the door. So then if you structure the deal that way, your incentives are aligned. So you might say, hey, Mr. Influencer, Miss Influencer, I'll give you $2 per customer acquired. And then you can split the list. So what does split the list mean? Well, it means the influencer gets a copy of the email list to market to, and you get a copy of the email list to market to. Now, this requires a little bit more of advanced marketing chops, but you can offer a free guide in your bonus stack on your sales page or on your thank you page, somewhere in the journey, from another brand that is your brand that you own and control. And so then when the customer buys from Influencer A, they get an email from Influencer A for all the products they bought. Plus they get an email from Newco, which you own as the marketer, delivering them their guide that they got as a free bonus in the bonus stack. So it gives you a valid reason to establish a new and separate relationship with that buyer data. And then from there, you can each market to the data as you see fit. So that's another way to architect a deal in the influencer space that I really like.
Well, you've clearly got this figured out. When I heard it, I thought of our mutual friend Abdul. He was doing sort of the same thing, but I feel like you're on another level here. Look, Thomas Dollar's huge. Drew Manning's huge. There's a bunch of names. Go to sawtoothmediagroup.com. He's got some big names on here. Like I said, you're working with my friend Bree. I actually hung out with her last week at a mastermind. She had
love Bree.
She had a lot of great things to say about you. Plus, she's just an awesome girl. And I also think you originally worked with the guys mastermind we were at, right? You were working with George Bryan, who I'm going to have on next week as well.
Yep, worked with George. I've one of his keynote speakers at his mastermind kind of on a regular basis when the world had still masterminds in person on a regular basis. So yeah, George and I are great friends, and he's an amazing marketer as well.
And speaking of the world being crazy, almost everyone I've worked with has experienced like Black Friday numbers month over month. Is that what you've experienced too? Look, you're in the fitness space. I would assume at-home fitness just exploded. I know some people selling products that went crazy. Did your offers go insane too, as far as like, did you have to pivot? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it was kind of, across the board at first. It was a little bit difficult in some of the health brands because, everybody was obviously in panic mode, like right at first, right when it first kind of all sort of broke out and broke loose. There was a little bit of a time where the world just didn't know what to do. A lot of the products that were health focused, we just started emphasizing the immunity angles a little bit more, and that really helped break sales loose there. But overall, e-com is way up, obviously, and for us too, across the board for all of our companies. My business, my personal agency's growth is reflective of that. I mean, we've grown over 400% in the last 6 months. So we're growing fast. A lot of people are understanding the need for really great, competent digital marketing. And we're one of the few agencies out there that can kind of do it all, the whole customer journey, which is one of our, it's not completely unique, but it's part of our USP at Sawtooth. And I really think there's the importance there that you have that volley back and forth between ads and funnels, and you're analyzing that data on a daily basis and, leveraging the learnings from both to influence changes in the other, right? It's just like, it has to be such a tight communication back and forth. And in today's ecosystem, you got to be on your A game. I mean, we were in election year, the cost of traffic went way up. Fortunately, our brands, we were all able to fight the good fight and keep them in the black through that. It wasn't as sexy in some of those months as it had been in others, but still in the midst of all of that, I mean, we had one case study where we took a brand from 100,000 a month to 2.1 million a month in 6 months. And that was literally, we launched in January, like when COVID hit. That's from January to like July numbers that I just shared with you. So a lot of turmoil in that period of time. And we were able to still crush it there.
Well, you mentioned that before the call, and I want to dive in there. Talk to me about that. How do you go from 100K a month to 2.1 a month? Certainly, I know there's a COVID boost there, right? Like, I think everybody in e-commerce has experienced that boost, but those are extraordinary numbers. That's not just pandemic numbers. So tell me about it, man. Tell me all the strategies.
Yeah, man, it's great. So I think it all comes down to coming up with really great hooks. I think every e-com company breakaway that we've had, you can actually even point it to one singular ad that breaks it loose. We call it a hero ad in our company. But we continue to iterate on copy and creative and video until we find that one ad that can acquire customers at break even or better. And then basically the rest of the business becomes a retargeting business. So what does that mean for those of you that don't know that are listening? It just means that if the first time a customer sees our brand, we can break even on that interaction, then any other time I can be profitable on that interaction. So if that first ad in the funnel, if you will, that they've ever seen from our brand can acquire customers break even or better, there's the other 98% of the people that watched that ad that I can retarget and get very profitable traffic for, and the blended rate ends up being pretty good. So, I mean, we wasn't super like, I'm not going to quote 8x ROAS number. We as a supplement company, we were at a 2x ROAS roughly gross. COGS come out of that, traffic costs come out of, it's not a super high margin monthly business, but you're talking about major scale. And we just put that company on the map basically forever with the amount of customer acquisition we put through it. And we still are continuing to do so right now today. They're still one of our biggest clients. So that journey though is not, it's not easy and it's not fast either. It sounds fast when I say those numbers, but it took us almost 3 months, 2.5 months to have our big breakaway ad break loose. And I think a lot of people give up too soon when they're trying cold traffic in general, even for themselves. They're like, oh, it's not working, or, oh, I can't make any money. But really, it's just that angle that you're looking for, that hook, that sentence, that ad creative, that video, whatever it may be, or combination of all of those things that can hit hard and click hard. And then you just build a business behind whatever's clicking hard. You build a congruent customer journey to whatever is clicking hard.
I like the idea of finding that hero ad, right? So I'm in supplements. I understand Facebook ads are probably only going to be at a 2x ROAS. But I have a couple questions around that, right? So how much do you focus on in a business on the foundation so that they can sustain when a hero ad hits versus finding that hero ad? Like, where's that balance for you as an agency when you come in? How are you handling all the foundation that needs to be built in order for a business to scale in the first place?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a highly consultative and, in our case, free engagement with the business owner because it's all part of our media package, if you will. I am personally in cases like that where a company's hitting hard, I'm on weekly and sometimes multi-times a week calls with the CEOs of those companies, helping them with those challenges because they're challenges that they have never faced before. Every new day of new scale is a new problem that they basically have never experienced as a business owner, and haven't been involved in so many myself, whether it be in a fractional ownership or agency capacity. I usually know what to do. That's, I have a big Rolodex, a big network of people, so I can usually help. Like if it's supply chain management, if it's trying to scale a business that is, on the back end, it could come down to merchant processing. It can come down to there's a lot of things that can cost you your business: customer service, merchant processing, refunds, chargebacks, supply chain management, China getting COVID and supply chain being affected. I mean, there's so many things when it comes to scaling a physical products business, particularly because of the inventory demands and nuances that, again, just like there needs to be that tight volley back and forth between ads and funnels, there also needs to be that tight volley back and forth between senior leadership and your marketing team, making sure that they're not breaking your business, right? Like there was a lot of times where we could have gone faster, but we didn't intentionally because we were waiting on an order to come in to resupply. So we wouldn't turn on certain types of retargeting ads that we knew would move a lot of product. We wouldn't even run them because we couldn't handle the deal flow basically operationally, right? So it's just, again, it's just such a, when you're scaling a business to that level that fast, the communication has to be daily. And that's really what it comes down to. And all things have to be firing in perfect harmony. The funnels, the ads, the creative, the operations. You cannot scale a business from 6 figures to 8 figures if those things aren't all working really, really well. So that's my message to everybody, is that if you're weak in one of those categories, either partner to shore it up or hire to shore it up, because you need them all if you intend to scale big.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. Like you said, inventory, right? Like just the finances alone of like, you can grow yourself out of business, just not even be able to keep up. It's frustrating. Look, e-commerce is simple. It's CAC versus LTV, right? Like it's an arbitrage game, but there's a lot in the middle there that I was just curious as you're like trying to find this hero ad that wins that arbitrage. Holy shit, who's thinking about all this other stuff, and how do you stay in communication? My other question for you was like, so I work with a lot of high ticket people that sell a big product, right? Think of a snowblower, or I hesitate to name a bunch of products, but like all high ticket things that they're drop shipping. Look, they've got decent margins because they're high ticket. There's a lot of room there, but like, how do they add the LTV, right? So it's fun to think about. Let's go acquire customers, and there's a lot of room to go acquire them. Usually, maybe even $1,000 margin there to go get one customer. How do you get them thinking about unique ideas? Like what spins off in your head as unique ideas for people who have a lot of one-time purchase type businesses to maximize their LTV?
Well, it's just, I mean, if it is, I mean, I would challenge, is it truly one time? Is there cross-sell or upsell capabilities, or, future sell capabilities? I don't, look, let's take the farming industry, for example. Those guys are looking for write-offs every single year. So they could, they might buy a tractor from you this year, but you could probably sell them a tractor next year. But to me, it's finding where there's crossover creatively to sell them other things. And I'd probably test those waters in the form of an affiliate offer if I could, where you're going to go pay. There's companies like Commission Junction, for example. Commission Junction has a lot of higher lawnmowers, like things like that are like higher ticket e-com products, if you will, on there. And they don't pay hardly anything in the form of a commission, right? They might only pay 10%, 5%, like some really small number. But what you're doing is taking a swing at validating with your existing base. Can I sell a lawnmower to the snowblower buyer? And if the answer is yes, okay, now I'll go figure out how to source lawnmowers, and I'll find a source for drop shipping lawnmowers too.
So I like to move into info products too on that same sort of thing. So do you have any experience in that? Have you worked with, opposite? So you went Thomas DeLauer, I'm sure you went into supplements from there, right? Or like, have you gone into a physical products business and then help them create info products? Have you partnered that way?
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's a really powerful way to help move product. I mean, there's a great example of that. It's not an exact example, but a great way that something like that could work is like a coaching program, right? Like a virtual coaching program that helps them become a better farm operator if you sold them a farm equipment, right? Like that's another example. Or it could be, I'm going to teach you farmers how to add another source of income and drop ship. You could make your customer your buyer of your course on how to, do the do themselves. There's so many different ways in info, Ben, and I totally love information products because they're where I started, where I learned. You can use information products to incent the purchase. So if you're in a commoditized marketplace, this is the old, which you're familiar with, Ben, because the Amazon world, this is the amazing selling machine model, where everybody's trying to sell the same amazing selling machine course, but they're bundling their own digital products with them to incentivize you to buy from them instead of buying it from the other guy, right? So that's a great example of where you can leverage information products to sell more products yourself, especially in a competitive or commoditized space.
Yeah, and I went out and sourced ebooks from other people in the industry, thinking back to some of my first businesses, where I would partner with them, share the list with them, right? Like I'm going to give this ebook away with every single purchase. That's my incentive. So we ended up working out for my customers, share the list with them, or bundle it into my price. And I'd take half, they'd take half sort of thing. There's a million ways to get info products. I love the way you were just talking about though, the way you met Thomas DeLauer. I think you could do the same thing with your own, whatever product you're selling. There's people in the industry who are influencers who you could go partner with to have them create you an info product. I like looking for ways to win after the purchase. I love loving your customers. Many people that I work with think of getting the next sale, the next sale, the next sale, the next sale. And it's not about just finding the next new purchase. It's continuing to love the customers you do have and maximizing the profit on the back end. And I know you probably have a zillion ideas on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's my marketer brain loves those types of things. I can go off a lot on different creative ideas. The one thing I tell the listeners too about partnerships, specifically partnering with people and things, is that you want to partner with people where it gives you leverage, right? That's a lot of people will partner, especially early on in their career. They'll partner because they can't afford to pay for whatever that is. Like they can't afford to pay a salesperson, so they'll partner with somebody that brings them sales, or they can't afford a technical person and they want to build a software, so they'll partner with the technical person. It's not a bad way to start a business, and I'm not bad mouthing it. I've done it myself. It's part of the evolution of an entrepreneur. But I think the quicker you can move to only partnering with people that provide you leverage, the better off you are. And what do I mean by that? If you think about it like a teeter-totter on the playground, right? The fulcrum is in the center of the teeter-totter. It's going back and forth. If you're just paying somebody to stand on the other side of the board from you and keep the business afloat, like that's not good, right? You don't want to partner with that person that's standing on the other side of the board. You want to partner with somebody that is a bigger fulcrum in the center, which means that it makes your business capable of bigger growth when the seesaw goes up on the one side, right? The bigger the fulcrum is in the center, the bigger ups that you can have in the business. So I really believe that partners should provide you strategic leverage. So if they give you distribution into a new channel that you really want to be in, or they give you, maybe they're that influencer in that space that everybody looks to, like giving you my ClickBank example before, where if you get them as your brand ambassador, if you will, all the other people will follow because they're looked at highly in their space. I think you just want to partner with people that provide you leverage is the message.
So I want to talk a little bit about what Sawtooth does. Going to your website, you do a lot more than I remember talking to you about in person. You had mentioned the phone bank. I feel like it was either your dad or your father-in-law who runs the phone bank. Your dad, yeah. Which I thought was kind of funny. Kind of cool too. I would love to work with my dad. He doesn't know how. I literally just gave him his first ever iPhone the other day, so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But I want to know what you guys have a plethora of things that you can do. So talk to me about Sawtooth, and it's more than just building a funnel, right? It's more than just finding that hero ad. So I'd love to hear all about Sawtooth.
You bet, man. Yeah. So Sawtooth was an evolution too. Sawtooth was the company that would partner with these other companies. And so I did the kind of marketing for equity play. But about 6 months ago, I had a big team at a former company that I'd built up and sold. They were all really amazing marketers. And they left the company that I had sold, and they were kind of all out on their own. There was 8 of them that were all out on their own. And a handful of them that I was close to, after, months after they left, I didn't even know they had left. Months after they left, they called me and they said, "Nick, we want to get clients and want to know if you had any business to give us." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Sure." So I gave them a couple projects, and they, of course, were world-class at it. And a couple of them I decided to partner with and create divisions of Sawtooth. So where Sawtooth took off and grew like gangbusters in the last 6 months, we went from having no clients in the traditional sense of fee-for-service type clients to having over 30 clients right now. We're running, a lot of millions and millions a month in ad spend across all the platforms. But I acquired a lot of talent basically in the form of a partnership with those guys. And I structured it in a little bit of a different way. I gave them 70% of their divisions that they own. And I did it because of advice that I actually got from Roland Frazier, whom I love, who said, if you take more than 70% of a business, you'll always be expected to work at contribute at a very high level in that business. But if you stay at 30% or under, you actually have a chance at being just truly an owner of that business. And so that's how I partnered with these guys that were my former employees. Now they own their divisions of Sawtooth, and I've empowered them to build, and I provide them all the support, of course, infrastructure, leadership support, sales support, HR, back office, all the things so they can stay in their zone of genius. So one of them runs our media buying company, which is a division of Sawtooth. One runs our video production company, and the other runs our funnel building company. And so at Sawtooth, and then you mentioned my father, I've always had the side project with him of running the call center for customer service needs. So as we scale a brand, usually customer service will topple over. And so I got tired of outsourcing that to some other companies that didn't really care about the experience and paying really high rates to them. So I built a customer service business, and it's all US based reps, and we can do it at about half the cost of other US based companies. So I'm pretty proud of that too.
So you brought on 30 new clients this year by branching out the way you did. Like the partnership thing sounds really smart. Look, I love Roland Frazier. I'm a huge fan. The guy is just super smart, and I love how much he talks about acquisitions and partnerships. But yeah, the way you structured that's genius, man. Like being able to give them the safety net they're probably looking for, but also the autonomy to grow the business. Like everybody wins.
Here's how else I structured it. Here's one of the nuances in that deal that is I would advise anybody to do if you're dealing with somebody that has like income needs on the other side of the partnership, is that I said up to the first $7,000 or $8,000 a month in profit, whatever their personal income needs are to be okay, like to be safe and feel secure. I gave them all of the profit up to that number. And I didn't start participating in my profit share until their personal income needs were met. So talking about taking the risk off the table for them, it did that. It gave them a safe place to grow a business, and they got to keep 100% of what they killed up to that point. And then I only shared in it after that happened. And that was, again, just a hell yes from them. And those guys and I I mentor them on a daily basis. We respect each other deeply, but I've really helped them have these guys were making, normal salaries before, and now they're multi 6-figure a year type incomes, like within 6 months from zero to that in 6 months. And it's really changed their lives to the point that that's one of my biggest achievements actually in the last 6 months, is how much I've changed their lives, I feel like.
That's awesome. I have two questions. Number one, like, how hard was it for you to get out of your ego's own way in structuring a partnership like that? And then number two, what does that look like inside the business as far as like, are you selling each one of these things individually and so they're able to bring in contributions? Or like, if you bring in a client who's using all six, how do you separate out the income like that? Because I don't know, this sounds genius to me.
Oh, thanks, man. So every division has its own fee structure associated with it. So to get ads, it costs this. To get video production, funnel building, and customer service, those are the different things we offer. Those are the 4 things we offer. Those all have their own, tiers of fees based on whatever their individual businesses need to be at to be solvent as a standalone business. And so when I quote people and contract them at Central, which is what Sawtooth Media Group Central does. If you said, "Hey Nick, I just want ads and video production," you get a Sawtooth contract with a scope of work that has that, and those are pieced out in there. And then the revenue flows to their companies on a monthly reconciliation with Sawtooth Central every single month.
I mean, it makes total sense to me. Actually, it's really smart. It's got my brain just spinning here with ideas of like, but number two, like the other question I asked you is like, was it hard to get out of your ego's own way? Like doing this means you have to put a lot of trust in a lot of people. And clearly you're a smart guy. Like you've dropped a bunch of nuggets here already. Was it hard for you to get out of your own way and make this happen? Or did you just sit down and it hit you one day and you were like, hold this is the idea?
It was hard for several years. It wasn't hard this time because I was ready for it personally. I'm ready for the next evolution of my career, which I'm not in yet. I'm still working on it. And that's that I'm truly an owner, investor in these businesses, and I'm sitting on the board and I'm not in the day-to-day of the company. I still have a lot of hard work to do to get there. I feel like the company still, needs me at the helm, but I know that if I'm always the guy, doing the do every day, I'm going to have to do the do every single day. I've eventually got to empower other people to do that and get out of my own way so they can. And ultimately, then I can go and build the next thing and the next thing and the next, because I love building things. It's in my blood. I just love the challenge of building something new. So
is your goal to get out of the way and let Sawtooth run itself so that you can build more? Or are you looking to find more advisor opportunities, or what are you looking for?
That's a great question. So I'm actually looking for acquisition opportunities with younger e-commerce companies, but not younger necessarily, but smaller revenue e-commerce companies. So I believe I've built the marketing machine that I can chuck any validated business into it and grow it exponentially. I've checked that box. We've done it. We're not running a single ad and we're growing by hundreds of %. It's because we're knocking it out of the park for all of our clients, and they're referring more business to us, which is the biggest compliment you can get as a service business owner is referrals. So my goal there is to continue to operate at a level that provides a level of service excellence for our clients, that they continue to refer us more business. And then, yes, I can kind of get out of the way, if you will, and go build then e-commerce companies that I pitch into the golden goose that's laying the golden eggs. I don't ever want to sell the golden goose. I don't ever want to sell the marketing company, because I've built a company that, in my opinion, can virtually king make any company I pitch into it. So whether that's your company or my company, eventually I want them to be all of my companies, right? Like if I have a way I can pitch things in the middle, it's just and I needed to get the business to a certain point to where it satisfied cash flow requirements for all of the respective owners. And that's what we're working really hard for. Once that box is checked and we're all kind of good, we're going to pivot. I'm personally going to pivot focus into acquiring e-com companies and pitching them into the Sawtooth machine, growing them, and then flipping them and selling them myself.
So is your goal to acquire the whole company? I'm just trying to understand how someone like me could find opportunities for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Fractional ownership is great. Happy to talk about fractional ownership. Happy to acquire the whole thing. I mean, it's all a numbers game. I mean, I'd be looking for like probably sub $1.5 million type companies. It's something that falls under SBA loan limits, because I'd probably leverage the SBA program to purchase some of those. But, eventually maybe I could build a fund, run a fund, do roll-ups at bigger scale. First I want to validate the concept myself. And then once I have a case study, raising money to make that happen at a bigger level, I feel like won't be a problem at all.
So I think we're right around the same age, right? You're in your late 30s?
Yeah, 40. I just turned 40.
Just turned 40. What was the shift for you mentally where you said, I want to shift into the owner? Was it something you read, something you listened to, somebody you were around? Like what made you shift and say, I'm ready for the next phase?
Well, it just, I think it's just that evolution. Like I've checked it's like I'm constantly trying to become a better version of myself, and challenge myself to go where I haven't gone before. And to me, I've checked that box of, I've been an owner, I've been even investor on a small scale, but I've not really moved into that solid I column where like my money is working for me. And I'm not working for me every day. I work because I love to work and I'll always work. So I'm not saying I don't want to work, but I for me, I haven't gotten to that next level. And there's a lot that I don't know in that space, around raising money and private equity and angel investing and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I know the basics, but I'm not really at that level yet, so I really want to get there.
I literally just made my first seed round investment, and it's a weird feeling. I'll say that. It's just like waving goodbye to your money. I think I made the right one. I bet on a company I truly, truly believe in. Anyone listening, go to dibbs.io and check it out. Like I truly believe where that company's going, but it's a different feeling of versus, getting dirty and scrappy and hustling and trying to grow a business. It's different.
Dude, totally. So, to date, I've only really invested in things that I can control the outcome on,
yeah.
Right. And investing in something where I don't control the outcome, I have not done that yet. And that is the next evolution for me. I'm happy for you, man. That's a huge step. Like, I'm in this other mastermind called Board of Advisors, and great group of guys, a lot of guys way higher level than me when it comes to just seasoned business, people that own $800 million real estate hedge funds and like just crazy level stuff. And they were talking to me, oh, Nick, you should throw, $250,000 at this. Like, it's a great opportunity. And I was like, dude, I'm just not there yet. Like, I'm not, I was like, I'd love to act like I'm the big baller that's like there. I was like, but I'm not ready to cut loose of $250,000 where I don't control the outcome. And one of the senior guys was like, Nick, that's really refreshing to hear. He's like, most people that come in here will, kind of BS their way through it. Oh yeah, I'll look at it. Let me take a look at it. And they really have no intention on ever doing anything. And he's like, I was where you're at, and I know you'll be where I'm at someday. So he's like, when you're ready to go to that level, I want to talk, but he really respected that I was just honest about like, hey, I'm just not there yet, man. I'm not really ready to stroke a $250,000 check where I don't control the outcome.
So what is the goal for you, right? At 40, you've done a lot of amazing things. You've helped a lot of companies. You're currently working on helping even more. I know there's no end game. We talked about it before we even hit record. Like, I don't know how to turn it off. I don't know why anybody would want to. But there's got to be some goals, right? What are the goals? Is it a financial? Is it a wealth thing? Like, what are the big goals for Nick Coates?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a wealth component to it. There's impact component to it. It's probably a lot longer answer, but the short version is yes. I mean, I want to reach a point where I have enough wealth built that is passively producing me enough income on an annual basis to live off of without touching the principal. And so that's part of it. The other part of it is impact based. Like, I really want to impact the world in a bigger way. So I'm really, and I want to do some things that I'm super passionate about too. I'm not passionate about marketing and all this kind of stuff. I am, but I'm an avid outdoorsman. I'm an avid griller of meats. And so like, I want to start a company that's passion based someday where I'm just like a barbecue influencer, maybe, I don't know, just for fun. But I do plan on working forever, man. I just, like we were talking about in the beginning, like I love what I do. I mean, obviously I want to get to a point to where I'm able to truly choose the hours of the day that I work. I heard this funny thing the other day. This guy was my Uber driver, actually. He's like, yeah, the great thing about being an entrepreneur. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, you get to choose whichever 12 hours of the day you want to work. Which I thought was so good. Because like, it's normally as an entrepreneur, when you're building something, you're working your tail off. Yeah. And I want to get to the point to where I'm, not needing or feeling like I need to work, so much. So that's the end game for me. Like, where I want to get to is that I'm always working on deals and investing and acquisition of companies and exiting companies and all that kind of stuff. But it's more of a 3 to 4 hours a day kind of a thing instead of a 12 hours a day kind of a thing.
Well, I love what you're doing. Who's a good business to contact you? Like, who would be good for Sawtooth Media Group that's listening to this?
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Just anybody that's selling products or services online. I mean, that already has validated, particularly you've already validated that there is a market for your offer. We don't do scratch builds anymore. We're too busy to take them on. They're too much of a heavy lift. So we're not the company to call if you're like, hey, Nick, I got this new idea. I want to build this funnel doing this. We're just at a point I can't take on those projects anymore. But if you already have validated that there's a market for your product and you're looking to either expand traffic channels or you're looking to just increase the performance of what you've got so far. I mean, we're I think some of the best in the world at taking something from okay to good or good to great or great to freaking unbelievable, and that's what I would say is our perfect customer.
And are you doing anything outside of there? Like, you seem like a prime candidate to have a giant mastermind to be teaching. Honestly, you're a really, really smart guy. Are you doing anything outside of Sawtooth in that fashion?
Dude, I'm not. Everybody asks me, like, it's probably one of those things that I need to do at some point, but I have not taken the leap just because I'm worried that it will take my eye off the ball of what I've been building over here. And that's my only really good reason for it, is that I just haven't taken the leap there. I still speak, at people's masterminds, and I really love that. I love going to offer value at other people's masterminds, but I haven't made the leap yet to start my own,
Well, if anybody on the listening to this wants to reach out to you, what's a good place to get a hold of you, or what's a good place to learn more about your company?
Nick at sawtoothmediagroup.com is my business email, and that's my best email. Actually, I monitor it very closely. And then sawtoothmediagroup.com is our website. If you're interested in our services, you can fill out a contact form there, and you'll get a call scheduled within 24 to 48 hours, and we'll go through your business and see if you're a good fit.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's always good talking to you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you too so much.
Did you take as many notes as I did? I took so many notes recording this, and then while editing, I took a few more notes. You can hear where I didn't edit out the awkward pauses that my brain was spinning. Like, Nick is seriously super, super smart. I love geeking out about marketing with other people that are that smart and just coming up with new ideas, and he makes me think so much. Thanks so much, Nick, for coming on. I appreciate you. I wish you had a mastermind. I wish he had something to sell you, because all of us could learn more from someone like Nick. If anything, shoot him an email and just say thanks if you learned something from this. And if you're into this type of podcast, where you'd rather hear me talk about marketing or geek out about marketing with other smart folks, go to AuthenticEcommerce.com and sign up for that mailing list. Shoot me a message. Go to BenKnagenurf.com and leave a message in the contact form. Let me know that you like this type of podcast, and I'll bring you more of it. I do think it's going to live in AuthenticEcommerce.com. I think that's going to be its own podcast. It's going to have its own courses. I need to teach again. I need to inspire people to take more action, and so it's probably going to happen over there, but I want to know that there's interest. So if that interests you, again, AuthenticEcommerce.com, sign up for the mailing list. Shoot me a DM on Facebook, shoot me a DM on Instagram, go to my contact page, whatever you need to do, and just let me know this is what I want to hear, and I'll bring you more of it. And so next week, we're going to do a little more of that as well. You're going to get to hear the mastermind I keep talking about. George Bryan is whose mastermind it was, and I got George to come on the show, learn a little bit about his story, and also dive into his marketing concept. So I know you're going to love next week's episode if you love this week's episode, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I will see all of you next Wednesday.